What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Before the 90 Days, Season 7, Episode 7, Maybe in Another Life. Let's talk about Renee and Chitty. So Renee's packing up. She wants to go to a hotel. She is overstaying at Chitty's sister's house. She thinks that Chitty's sister is bringing a lot of negative energy. She talks about how she's always had this premonition that the man that she was destined to be with, or that she was going to be with, was going to have a sister that was going to try to ruin her relationship. So before she even stepped foot in Nigeria, she already hated the sister because of the stupid premonition that she's always had. So she wants to leave. She wants to get out of there, and she wants Chitty to come with her. So she's packing up her stuff, and she tells Chitty, I'm going to go to a hotel and I want you to come with me. So Chitty hesitates. First, he tells her, well, I can't go with you tonight because I need time to get my stuff together. And she's like, get what stuff together? You've got like 2 pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of socks, and a pair of pants. What do you mean you got to get your stuff together? Put your stuff in my bag and let's go. Then he says he has to talk to his sister and brother-in-law before he can leave. So then she begins to chastise him and say, I didn't know that I was dating a little boy. You're not a real man because you have to ask permission from your mommy and daddy if you can leave the house. And so she really begins to put him down in a really ugly way. And he's never done that to her. As ugly as she has behaved with him and with his family, Chitty has never called her out of her name. He's never said anything really derogatory towards her. Not even the sister or the brother-in-law. She's the only one that is throwing out all of these false accusations and calling people names and just doing the most. So Renee accuses Chitty's sister of being an intruder and being very controlling because I think at dinner the sister had asked a question and Renee took that as the sister prying into their personal, intimate life. And so because of that, Renee thinks that the sister is being, she's like an intruder into the relationship and that she controls Chitty and that Chitty can't do anything without his sister's permission. So the argument between them begins to escalate between Chitty and Renee. It begins to escalate. They're going back and forth now. And Chitty, his voice did get loud, but only because of the fact that Renee was practically screaming and yelling at him and wouldn't let him talk. So the brother-in-law comes in and the brother-in-law actually steps into the room and he's just standing there observing them argue. Obviously, I don't think Chitty knew that the brother-in-law was in there, and Renee was so focused on packing up her bag and screaming and yelling at Chitty, even she didn't even realize that the brother-in-law was in the room with them, observing them arguing. So Renee tells Chitty at some point in the argument, she tells him to shut up. This is what I'm talking about, the disrespect. I think that this is, I know for a lot of people, telling your partner to shut up is no big deal, but the way she does it and how she does it to me is it's like verbally abusive, because it's very disrespectful. How can you tell him to shut up when you have never stopped talking and he can barely get a word in? Like, why are you telling him to shut up? So Renee tells the brother-in-law when she finally notices that he's standing there, she tells the brother-in-law that, oh, Chitty's yelling at me. Girl, please. Girl, please. If anybody's yelling at you, it's because they're trying to be heard because you're talking so loud. Victoria comes in to defend her brother. And so then this makes Renee want to attack Victoria. So Victoria and Renee go back and forth. They start arguing. So at some point, they're telling each other to calm down. And Renee tells Victoria, calm down, girl. Very condescending like that. Renee's lucky that Chitty's people are cool, calm, and collected because you get in someone's face and you do that whole calm down, girl, in that tone of voice that you used, girl, you would have been laid flat on the floor. You would have been going to no hotel. You would have been going to the emergency room that night. So Renee takes her stuff and she leaves. Now she's in the taxi or the Uber and she's crying, all this stuff, talking about some crap about, oh, even though he couldn't see me, I know he heard my heart beating. Girl, shut up. You're not that sentimental. You're not that romantic. You are a monster. You are a monster and you're trying to control this grown man for whatever reason. Your past relationships didn't work out because I'm pretty sure those men were able to see who you really were. your past relationship didn't work out. So now you have a man who you think you're going to be able to control because he's younger, because he is visually impaired. You feel like that you're going to be able to control him and mold him into whatever you want him to be. And that's why you think this relationship is going to work. And you feel like the sister and the brother-in-law are getting in the way because they're trying to protect Chitty from your evil ways. So her crying and talking about, oh, but he hurt my he could hear my heart beating. No, no one's buying that. No one's buying that. Now, Chitty, even through all of this, he tells us that he still loves Renee. What do you love about her, Chitty? Okay, you have these feelings that developed when you and her were first getting to know each other. You found a woman who did not see your blindness as anything negative. She actually took it as a positive sign. And I don't know if that's what turned you out or what, but what is it other than her embracing the fact that you're visually impaired? What do you love about this woman? She's extremely disrespectful. She's yelling and screaming at you, telling you to shut up. She's yelling and screaming at your family, disrespecting your family. What is it about this woman that is so lovable, Chitty? Maybe if you can break it down, maybe I'll understand. I'm not saying that you're wrong or right. I'm just trying to understand, like, why do you still love this woman after how she treats you? I don't get it. So in real life, I saw an article. The headline was Renee confirms that her and Chitty broke up. I didn't read the article because I really didn't care. But supposedly they've broken up in real time, and good for Chitty. You dodged a bullet. Let's move on to Brian and Ingrid. So Brian gets to meet Ingrid's friends. They go to a restaurant, and the meeting was fine. They liked him. He liked them. No big deal there. So Brian tells the friends that he's used to sleeping with women like on the first night. And he says this to basically say that Ingrid is different. He sees her differently. Like he wants to have something long lasting and serious with Ingrid. So the friends liked him, no big deal. So later on that night, they go back to the hotel, and he had actually brought her like this really revealing, risque piece of lingerie. And so she puts it on. She looked fabulous in it, by the way. She looked really good. It was just like a bra and panty set, very revealing. You have to have a certain type of physique to pull this off, and Ingrid definitely has it. So she looked really nice. She puts it on, and he starts off by giving her a massage, right? So he's rubbing her body down with lotion, and we're thinking that okay, they're finally going to get this on and pop in. But then later on, about an hour later, we see Brian coming out of the hotel by himself, and he says that well, things took a turn. While he was massaging her body, she asked him if he had a condom, and he said he didn't. So, Ingrid pumped the brakes on them having sex. And so then he was like, well, we can still do other things. And so he had offered to orally please her. And when he got started with that, she stopped him, and she didn't want to go any further. So he didn't understand. He didn't understand. Like, okay, if we couldn't do one thing, we can definitely do other things. We can explore each other in other ways. But she didn't want to do anything at all, and so that was the end of their night. So he's outside. I think it was by the pool or something. She has gone into a taxi or an Uber. I don't know where. She's with the producers in a car, and they're asking her like, "What the hell happened after we left?" And she said that the whole thing about asking him if he had a condom, he said no. He began to try to, do other things with her, and then she changed her mind and didn't want to continue anymore. So even though it wasn't in this episode, we did see a clip of next week's episode, and it seems like the reason why she no longer wanted to go any further with him that night was because he was just a little bit too eager, way too eager, and it turned her off. That's basically the little hint that we get, the little preview that we get of why she didn't want to go any further with Brian. I'm thinking to myself, this is very interesting here. This was very interesting because it seemed like things were going well. And another thing, um, why didn't he have any protection? You're going to Brazil to see a woman that you want to potentially marry. There's obvious chemistry between the two of y'all. Why didn't you have it with you, like in your wallet? or get some from the store. Like, I didn't understand why he wasn't prepared. Moving on to Matilda and Nile. So it's the next day after Niles has arrived in Ghana. We find out that the previous night they did not consummate their relationship because Niles told Matilda that he wanted to wait. He didn't want to have sex with her right away. He wanted them to wait. And the reason why was because he says in his previous relationship, when they had sex early on, the relationship just revolved around sex, and that's all it was about. And so he wants to have something more meaningful with her because she could potentially be his wife. So that's why he didn't want to go through with it. That's what Niles says, and that's what we're going to go with. So Matilda says that it's okay with her if they wait until marriage. Now, speaking of marriage, Matilda tells Niles that it's going to be a lot of people coming to their wedding, over 200 people, friends, family, people from the neighborhood, the minister, the priest, whoever. Everybody's coming to this wedding. And so once again, he gets cold feet into telling her that he doesn't want to get married on this particular trip, that he wants them to wait. So he misses another opportunity to tell her that he doesn't want to get married. So later on, they go shopping. They go into town and they go shopping, and they walk into a dress shop, and she wants to buy a particular skirt, and it's going to be $80. And Niles was like literally thinking about whether or not he should buy this skirt for her, which is like $80. And so okay, fine. So then he decides to go ahead and buy it for her because he wants her to be in a good mood when he tells her finally that he doesn't want to get married on this trip. So he's like, I'm going to go ahead and buy her the skirt because maybe that'll make her happy and she'll take the news a little bit better once I tell her that I want to postpone the wedding. So then he takes her to a nail shop, and he leaves her there while he goes to a jewelry store to buy her an engagement ring. Now, they're already engaged. He's already asked her to marry him, and she has already said yes. But he wants to make it official with an official proposal and a ring and the whole shebang. So he goes in and he buys a ring. Now, he also tells us that another reason why he's buying her a ring is because he wants to butter her up so that when he drops the bomb on her about postponing the wedding, she'll take it a little bit easier if she's got on, like a beautiful outfit and she's got this beautiful diamond ring. At least she'll know that he is serious about getting married because he bought me a ring, but he just wants to postpone it. So then, she won't be as devastated. And I'm just not understanding why he keeps on pushing the news back. I don't know. I don't know. It probably has a lot to do with the timeline of the show because maybe there's not much going on with Niles and Matilda. And so their storyline is hanging on this whole issue of Niles telling Matilda that he doesn't want to get married right away. And so they have to prolong it as long as they can, because there's nothing else going on with them. That's all I can think of. But Matilda is really, really pretty. Moving on to Adrien and Tiger Lily. Y'all, I didn't know Tiger Lily was Japanese. I had no idea. I was just scrolling through TikTok as I was watching 90 Day Fiance, and I came across this page or this video, and it talked about how, drastically different supposedly Tiger Lily looks from how she looked years ago until now, which to me really wasn't that different. And the people in the comments were saying that she's actually Japanese. I don't know if she's whole 100% Japanese or half Japanese. I don't know. And that yeah, so she's Japanese. So moving on from there. So Tiger Lily wants Adnan to follow the same rules that he is putting on her. So if she can't shake a man's hand and be in a man's presence or whatever the situation is, she wants him to follow the same rules. And I'm like, this is really not Adnan's rules. It's not like rules that he's making up for her. This is what they do in his country. This is their culture, their tradition. So it's not like I'm just going to make up some rules where my wife can't shake a man's hand, but I'm going to be able to touch a woman any way that I want. I don't think it's his rules. I think it's just their culture that he's following. So he does apologize to Tiger Lily on their trip to Petra. He apologizes to her. She accepts his apology. So they get to Petra. They get on a camel. Now she's in a really good mood. She's really happy now, and everything is fine. Now, as her trip is winding down and she is about to leave to come back to America, they're in the car and her friends, Shay and Cruz, are bringing up some stuff. They're bringing up some, their conversation kind of turns like, they start talking about well, now that Tiger Woods is going to be going back to the United States, um, the long distance relationship might take a toll on y'all. Or when Adnan comes to America, they're just bringing up all kinds of scenarios of how, like, the problems that they may be facing in their marriage, like the whole thing about the gender roles and Adnan expecting his wife to act a certain way and be a certain way. So they're just bringing up all of these scenarios that could be a problem in their relationship, and Adnan is hating it. He's like, y'all, I don't know why y'all are trying to bring all this negativity, making my wife feel bad. He didn't like it at all. So, you know, but Tiger Lily says, we're going to work it out because we love each other. We love each other, so everything's going to be fine. Tiger Lily and Adnan, they just want to stick their heads in the ground like ostriches. Like, if they don't see the problems, then there are no problems. They don't want to have the real conversations. They don't want to talk about, things that could possibly go wrong in the situation that they're in. Being married, but still being long distance. Her still having an issue with his cultural norms, him expecting to still follow his cultural norms in the United States, him having certain expectations of his wife. Um, I don't know if he wants her to convert to Islam, but he definitely wants her to live like a Islamic woman. It seems like, with her being covered up and being modest and whatnot. These types of conversations they don't want to have. Um, I don't know why. Maybe because they're immature. I have no idea why they don't want to talk about these things. So when things happen, that's when you see Tiger Lily pouting. They're arguing. They're not talking to each other. She's walking off because they don't want to have these conversations. They don't want to talk about what they expect from each other. So I don't understand why. Now, I get that what the friends were trying to do, and I understand that Adnan didn't want to talk about negative things when they're running out of time being together. He wants to spend the last day or two in a positive space with his wife before she leaves. But at some point, they're going to have these conversations. I just don't know when and where they're going to take place. Moving on to Lauren and Faith. So they have a chance to talk. Faith goes to Lauren's room and Lauren invites her in. He's like, come on in, let's talk. And she's like, no, I don't want to come into your room. I'd rather talk outside, because she's still really upset after finding out that Lauren has been unfaithful. And not only that, but contracted an STD while he was being unfaithful. So they go outside, they take a walk, and they're having a conversation about their relationship. And Lauren tells Faith that he was having sex with other people like once a week. And then once again, he blames it on Faith not understanding him, saying, I thought I told you that this is what I was doing. And it's like, if you to see her reaction now to him being unfaithful, if he would have told her then that if he would have made it clear and concise of what he was actually doing before he came to the Philippines, this trip would have happened, because she would not have wanted to see him. There is no way that Lauren had made it clear to Faith that he was seeing other people and sleeping with other people once a week. There is no way that he had told her that. So when he's like, well, didn't I tell you? I thought you knew already, because I made it clear to you. No, you didn't. You didn't make anything clear. Everything was as thick as mud. You didn't make anything clear at all. So I hate the fact that he's kind of blaming this on her. Like, why are you so surprised? I told you. I hate the fact that he's putting the blame on her for not understanding, when clearly, he did not explain himself, or he was not. Like I said, Lauren is an F boy. He was cheating on her. He was cheating on her. Okay, he was cheating on her, and he didn't want her to know. The gonorrhea told on him. Other than that, she still probably would not have known. But yes, it is a good thing that he did tell her about his STD. So Faith says that she was very hurt, and so he promises her that he is going to remain faithful and monogamous, which is strange to me, because I thought Lauren had said in the beginning of the season that he wanted to have an open relationship. His whole thing was, I want to have like a main, but then I also want to do my thing on the side, and I want to do it openly. I don't want to have to hide or lie. I want to have an open relationship. But now he says he wants to be monogamous, he wants to be faithful, and that he's going to try harder to gain her trust. So she was really excited to introduce Lauren to her family, because she says that Lauren is her very first boyfriend, and she was excited to have her family meet him. But now that she knows that he ain't nothing but a dog, She's like, well, I don't think I want you to meet my family. So we're gonna have to basically start all over. We'll start off by being friends. And I'll introduce you to my, well, she still wants him to meet the family, but not as her fiance. She's gonna introduce him as her friend. Good for you. Now let's talk about Faith for a little bit. I love Faith. Okay, I love Faith. Even though she might have been assigned male at birth and she's considers herself a lady boy, to me, Faith is like a classy lady. The way she holds herself, the way she presents herself, she's very, very classy, very ladylike. And I like the fact that she's not taking any nonsense from Lauren. And she's telling him, yeah, I think I'm not happy about the fact that you got an STD and that you've been cheating on me. And I'm not going to let it go that easily. I like Faith. I like Faith a lot. I like how Faith presents herself. Let's move on to our newest cast member, Vanya. So Vanya is 41 years old. She lives in Orlando, Florida. She's a belly dancer. She's a makeup artist. She's a vegan baker. And she's also a medical sales rep. She originated from Bosnia. And she tells us that because she's from Bosnia, she had gone back to Europe to reconnect with her roots and family, I guess, over there in Europe. And while she was there, she was on a dating app. She was scrolling through and she came across Boja, who is 38 years old and he lives in Croatia, I think, and he plays professional basketball in Croatia. So that's how they met, through a dating app. And Vanya plans to go to Croatia to see him. This will be the very first time that they physically meet. I don't understand why they didn't meet while she was in Bosnia and they met on the app. Why they didn't make her? Maybe he was away playing basketball somewhere. So we find out that a few months into the relationship, Boja had broken up with her because he wanted to be with another woman. So they were broken up for a while. He was dating somebody else. Then a couple of months later, he called her and he wanted to be back with her. And so she didn't want to have an issue where she would have regretted not reconciling with him. Like this man could be the one for her. She didn't want to pass up this opportunity. So when he wanted to reconcile with her, she was all for it. So they got back together again. And now this is where we're at. Her cousin comes over to help her pack. And while her cousin is there, we find out more about Vanya. So we find out that she hasn't had sex in 6 years. She takes sex very seriously. She doesn't do one night stands. She doesn't do sex without having an emotional connection with somebody. And we also learn more about her childhood. So she was born in Bosnia, and when she was about 10 years old, the war began in Bosnia. And then she talks about how scary that was, how devastating it was. There was no electricity, no water for like a year. They're very limited on what they could eat. It was like a very horrible, horrible existence. But this just made her a lot more stronger and obviously a lot more appreciative with life, because there were so many times where she could have been killed because the bombs are just dropping and going off anywhere and everywhere. So she's very lucky to have survived that. We also find out that Boja lives with his mother. Her cousin asked her, why does he live with his mom? Doesn't he make enough money playing professional basketball? And Vanya's like, well, it's not like he's in the NBA or anything. Girl, whatever he's in, why is he still living with his mother at the age of 38? Like, what's going on? Why? And he wants to get married. He wants to have a wife and he's living with his mother. Okay, fine. So the next time that we see Vanya, she's at the airport and she's on her way to Croatia. So she's calling him several times throughout the day. He's not answering. This is making her very, very nervous because this is exactly what happened when he was dating this other woman. She was trying to get in contact with him and he wasn't answering his phone. So this is like a flash. It's bringing back really bad flashbacks of him when he was with another woman. What I want to know is, when she told this story about Boja being with this other woman, she made it seem like he didn't cheat on her, right? He didn't cheat on her, but maybe he came across a woman that he was interested in and was no longer so sure that he wanted to be with Vanya. So he called her and he forewarned her. He basically told her, look, I don't want to be with you anymore. I want to be with somebody else. So she made it seem like he cut it off with her before he was with another woman. And that's why she felt okay with going back to him, because it wasn't like a cheating type of situation. He was open and honest about what he wanted to do. I want to know if that's how it really went down and not him getting caught with another woman or him seeing both of them at the same time and then feeling guilty about it, then telling her that I want to be with this other woman. I want to know exactly how it went down, because it just seems like too good to be true that he would have been like, you know what, before I get started with this other woman, I just want to let you know that I want to end things with you and I want to start something with somebody else. It just seems like too good to be true, but hey, it does happen, right? And that's my review. It was like a filler episode, y'all. I'm so glad that I got through this review without yawning, because I couldn't get through the show without yawning. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later.